everyone. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. My guest, Krista Blunk, is the Pac-12 network analyst for college basketball for the women, as well as volleyball and soccer. She is broadcasting the Sacramento Kings game and an all-female broadcast on Saturday night. The Toronto Raptors had one on Wednesday. The Golden State Warriors will have one on radio on Monday night. But the Sacramento Kings have made the right choice, in my opinion, because I'm a little partial to her. But Krista Blunk here with us, talking about the Sacramento Kings, a little bit about the NBA and how this opportunity happened. She's working Westwood One for the NCAA Women's Tournament, and previously with ESPN and also CBS Sports, did some college football sideline reporting. So she's done it all, and she's got a few things going. Let me welcome in Krista Blunk right here to the broadcast. Krista, it's great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Vasu. Thank you. It's great to see you. We go so far back, so it's always great when I get a chance to catch up with you.
We'll get to that in case we need to wake anybody up later in the broadcast, because we've had some times together. There's no doubt about it. So let's get to this right away. I mean, I texted you right away. We tried to talk as much as we can, but as you see on the screen here, the all-female broadcast for the Sacramento Kings game Saturday night for Women's Empowerment Month on Monday. The Raptors had theirs on Wednesday. Your friends, Kate Scott and Mary Murphy, are part of the broadcast for Warriors on Monday night on radio only, unfortunately. And Kareth Burke, for those that don't know, the sideline reporter for the Golden State Warriors on TV. She's also going to be a game analyst or sideline reporter. I don't know the mechanics of it. You may have talked to them a little bit, but tell me how this came about for you for the Sacramento Kings.
Well, first of all, I also want to mention we're also touching on another area, the non-binary. We have Lasia Clarendon coming on as well with our group. And so we're trying to give an opportunity to maybe individuals and announcers that haven't always had a voice or been given the opportunity to kind of be in these high-level, big stage kind of events. So it came about. I had reconnected. I spent so many years with the Sacramento organization, with the Sacramento Monarchs, and a couple of years with the Kings, and I had reconnected with them in the off season, and then I was covering college tournament in Vegas and got an email from the organization saying, hey, we're going to do something and we want to see if you'd be interested. And wow, did I jump right on it. I was excited because, as you mentioned, I had already heard about the other broadcasts, and I had already reached out to some of my colleagues and friends that are doing it, because I was just genuinely so excited for them to be part of something like this and to just get the opportunity. I'm really just so thrilled for them. And so just out of the blue, when I saw this email, I was just like a little kid running around. I was really excited to be part of it.
Krista Blunk, our guest here from Westwood One. She's also doing the women's tournament for Westwood One. Let me get this right here in terms of the names. I know you texted me. Kayte Hunter is going to be the analyst. Yeah. Laura Britt from NBC Sports Bay Area. Lasia Clarendon, who you said. Morgan Reagan, who my co-host on my other show actually knows. She does a podcast with Deuce Mason, and she's going to be handling all the social media stuff. So we want to make sure we include everybody with regards to the broadcast. So that's great for you in terms of the broadcast. By the way, I saw an email that came across. NBA League Pass is given a 3-day trial for free this weekend. So if you get a chance to catch the NBA League Pass on any of your satellite or TV cable opportunities, get a chance to watch Krista and the broadcast going on. All right, let's talk a little basketball, since that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Sacramento Kings a little bit. How much have you had a chance to watch them? How much have you followed them over the course of the season? How long? Let me ask you this: How much time in advance did you know that you were going to do this game? So how much opportunity have you had a chance to watch the Kings?
About a week plus. It was pretty quick. Like I said, I knew about the other games before I knew about this one. Maybe just a little over a week, and then now coming into the second week. But I follow the NBA. I live in Salt Lake now, so I keep up with the Jazz. But living in the Bay Area for so long, I've been a Golden State Warriors fan for a long time as well. And then working with the Sacramento organization, those are always teams that I sort of keep an eye on and kind of see where they are, what they're doing. And the Kings have been going through a lot of changes, new ownership, general managers, you name it. So a lot of change, but a lot of positives. And they're a team that has had some ups and downs this season, but just making their way through, the trade deadline, and they're on a win streak, and it's a little bit of a short one right now, but I hope they can extend it out at least through tomorrow night anyway.
Well, I watched the game against the Warriors last night, and I know there was no Steph Curry, and the Warriors are struggling a little bit with Wiseman at center. He's still a young guy. What do you think about, you cover a lot of college basketball, just from the standpoint of a 19-year-old coming in that didn't really even play any college basketball? He only had 3 games, and even then, that's probably a total of 60 minutes, probably only played 48 minutes, and now everybody's got all these expectations on him, kind of what they did for Sacramento when De'Aaron Fox got drafted. I love Tyrese Halliburton. I wish I had the tape right now to share it to you, but I was all over Tyrese Halliburton. I could not believe he lasted till 12th in the draft, because they've got themselves a good one. Obviously, Edwards, LaMelo Ball, who's out for the year, and Wiseman were the top 3 picks. But I thought for sure he was going to go 4th. And I kept screaming, and I kept screaming as a Lakers fan. I kept screaming 2 years ago, don't take Lonzo Ball, take De'Aaron Fox, take De'Aaron Fox. But what a duo to surround yourself to kind of rebuild the organization. I'm not big on the draft because, unfortunately, you always see the same teams every year. But I watch college basketball, and I watch all the players, as you know, that I do watch a lot of it, and I love watching the players get drafted. Unfortunately, they don't get to the teams they want to get to. But De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton, the Sacramento Kings, they've got a foundation to build on now for the new management and the new GM, Monty McNair.
Yeah, it's interesting. Their combination, just remarkable. They just finished up against the Cavaliers, which is who they'll face tomorrow night, just on Monday. That was the end of their 6-game road trip, and they got the win. And now they've won a couple more here at home. And the combination of those two, I mean, you're talking 50-plus points combined, 60-plus points combined just last night. And it's an interesting situation because Halliburton had a couple of injuries, and he had been out for a little bit, but he wasn't starting. It was Bagley that was starting, and Bagley got injured on the road trip. So you're on the 6-game road trip. 2nd game in, one of your starters goes out. You've already lost one the night before, and you're thinking, what is going to happen, right? And then you bring Halliburton back in. He's fresh. He's ready. He's good to go. And this team has little by little just really gelled. And the combination of those two gives them a little different look, gives them maybe a little more quickness, maybe a little defensive look, a different defensive look. And it seems to be working, at least for now anyway. So I love it. They are fun to watch. They are so fast. I mean, just don't blink, because they are gone.
They're lightning. I want to see who they were talking on the broadcast last night. I didn't get the Sacramento broadcast last night, but I want to see a foot race between De'Aaron Fox, John Wall, and Russell Westbrook to see who the fastest is.
Oh man,
because that'd be some race to see. All right, well, that's great. The NBA with the Sacramento Kings and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, what do you know about Cleveland? They've got some issues going on, obviously, with their record. Andre Drummond did not get traded as most people thought was going to happen. He and LaMarcus Aldridge are on the probably the buyout clauses that are going to happen. I think the Clippers would be a good fit for Drummond. What have you heard from the Cleveland folks in preparation for your broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not diving quite as deep yet into them, although they play tonight as well. I'll be watching. They only made the one trade, and I was kind of bummed because they got rid of McGee, and JaVale McGee is. I don't know. He has such a fun connection here with his mom, having played here and all that fun stuff. So not a lot of movement for them. Maybe a little bit of a surprise, but Sexton's been out, I think, hurt, and he's a fun guard to watch. Yeah. But I'm very hopeful that he'll be back, but I'm not even certain that he's going to be back. So, yeah.
Our guest, Krista Blunk, here, a conversation with. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. You're watching Stables Media. You can download and subscribe. Get your podcast anywhere you get your podcast. We'll have this uploaded as well. If you have any comments, send it to us. We got a few minutes with Krista. She's in the middle of a business. By the way, I appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you are, and you're just doing it and everything. I'm glad you remember me. I'm always happy when I get a text from you. We'll get to that. We'll spend the last few minutes on that for a couple seconds. But let's talk about the NBA from the standpoint of you're in Utah. The Utah Jazz, the best team in the NBA. When we were doing our other show, I didn't realize that Utah had the best point differential in the NBA, not only the Western Conference. You think about the Milwaukee Bucks, who've run that table the last few years. You've seen Utah, you live in Utah, you're in Salt Lake City. What do you like about the Utah Jazz? And a very underrated trade they made with Matt Thomas. He's a sharpshooter. And I know everybody was looking for Kyle Lowry, but this guy's going to help the Utah Jazz because it's Mitchell, and Gobert's not really offensive. And English, you never know what you're going to get. But you got Bojanovic, who can shoot the lights out, but he's inconsistent at points. But they're really good right now.
Yeah, I think Thomas was a great addition. I was really excited about that. I'm excited about him. The thing I really love about this group of guys, it's interesting because they were playing so well a season or two ago, and then they made some moves, and you thought, oh, wow, is this going to be another rebuilding kind of situation? But with Donovan Mitchell committing to the program and Rudy Gobert, and just you've got Ingle there, kind of that veteran guy, but I just love the combination game that they have inside, outside. They have quickness. They seem very selfless. Just a great team, and they're really amazing guys in the community. And there's just a fun, exciting feeling about this whole group. Not only that, they're pretty darn good too.
Darn good. They are definitely good.
Watch. I think I like so many things about them, but they've got a great combination of players.
One more quick one on Utah for you, because you lived there. Quinn Snyder, all the controversy. I mean, I credit Rudy Gobert. I don't know if I should say credit, but I credit Rudy Gobert for stopping the world last year based on everything that happened. It's kind of a joke, but it is kind of true in what happened. And then the disgruntledness that happened between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell with the COVID situations and everything like that. How important, in your opinion, I know you're not around them and you don't cover them as much, but you do live there and you know basketball. How important was it for Quinn Snyder to be in the middle of that, to kind of repair this relationship? Because that really could have gone sideways before they got to the bubble.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought him up, because I was actually, I love
Quinn Snyder. I love Quinn Snyder.
I think he is really an unsung hero in a lot of ways, even though he's a head coach, and he does get some credit for a lot of things. But I think he's a smart coach from an X's and O's and just his staff as well. But his communication with his players, the respect that he gets from his players, he set that tone from day one coming in, and you can feel it. There's a respect on both sides, and I think the fact that it was a little touch and go there between those two, and had that fallen apart, we might not be talking about how great this Jazz team's doing. I think he understood the importance of how important it was for those two to make sure that they made amends, and that they understood each other's side to it. And they're still young players, they're still young guys, and so still maybe who's been in this kind of scenario, right? I think we've never been in that situation. So I think it was important for him to be able to communicate to Donovan, hey, try to be in his shoes, and try to see what would happen on the other side, and vice versa, So I think he did a remarkable job.
It is a lot different because we didn't know anything going into last year, and of course we haven't had a pandemic in 100 years. Yeah. And so now we've got a lot more knowledge, we've got a lot more information, we're getting a lot of vaccines out there. By the way, 2020, I know neither one of us did a lot of work last year. We did do our couple of shows. We were trying to put together shows on what to talk about and all that. My other show, the wagering side. Speaking of the NBA here, let's talk about the NBA just for a second. How was your 2020? First of all, let me ask you, how'd you manage through with you and your loved ones?
I tell you, luckily nobody was ill or sick. I was really glad that my bubble of friends and family were all safe and sound. I took advantage of it. I kept trying to find those silver linings. I think it was really important to do that. And there are some pros to the whole thing, a lot of cons, but I tried to find those silver linings. I don't think I could have organized anything any longer than I did. I filed away things and organized things to the extent that I had enough filing and organizing. It was time to get back to work. So
you and me both.
So my house is pretty clean and organized, and and then I was ready. And now there's some piles again and I'm glad to see those piles. I didn't think I'd ever want to see those piles again.
Our guest, Krista Blunk, here on a conversation with Vasu Vaddiparty. You can check us out on Stables Media on the YouTube page, and also the Stables Media YouTube channel. You can download your podcast anywhere you get them, on Apple, Google, anywhere. I've learned that hashtagging is definitely something that I've learned getting older here, because it was just
I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah, you're hashtagged on my post, so you'll figure it out when you see the post.
I will.
Let's talk about the broadcast itself. So I know haven't had many conversations. I know Laura. I don't know Laura Britt. I don't know any of the other women. I was looking forward to our friend Jim Cosmar whenever I get to a game up there to meet Katie one time. She's great on the broadcast. Laura Britt is a very, very professional woman. She does the 49ers stuff here and a lot of other things on NBC Sports Bay Area and NBC California, which is which is where the broadcast is going to be on Saturday night. Of course, don't forget the 3-day free trial on League Pass. We can all see Krista do play by.
There you go.
Tell me what they've told you about the broadcast, or how you're going to go into it, and how you're going to intertwine women empowerment for March in between calling a game, because the game is still the most important thing.
Absolutely. And for me, the game is the most important thing, right? I want the game to be there. The fans want to see the game. And I think it's just also kind of extra special that those that I haven't seen an entire, female non-binary group together, that here we are. So it hasn't happened very often. So, I believe the pregame show, it'll be touched upon a bit more. Kayte and I will be kind of separated from them, but we'll all come together for a little segment, and then it'll be, let's start this off. What are we talking about? Who we focusing on? And let's get to the lineups, and here we go. So I think that as the game goes along, if opportunities or situations present themselves, and we are able to talk about anything or want to talk about anything, we can. I think we have the green light, but I think for us, it's really about this game, and being able to call a game with some of the most amazing players in the world, So that's a dream that anybody, I think, would love to do. And so we're excited about it. And, depending on how the game goes, will determine how much extra time we'll have to chit chat about anything, really. But we hope it's a good, close game, and all we're talking about really is the game. So
a few more minutes here with Krista Blunk. I appreciate your time as always, because I know how busy you are coming in and getting ready for this broadcast. Let me ask you this, because you know me, and I've always been a supporter of women's sports, and we were in the corporate world as well too, so we understand. I always like to hire people who are the best person for the job, and I've always followed women's sports, and I've covered women's sports as well too. Our job in the 90s was my first media job, so that's how we got to know each other. We'll get to that maybe in a little bit. There was a Golden State Warriors owner that was involved at that time. So we'll talk about that for a second. How funny time has gone by a little bit. I got a lot more gray than you do.
Oh man, I'll tell you. A lot more everything.
But anyway, so let me ask you about the women empowerment in terms of the broadcast itself. I know you talked about what you're going to do in the broadcast. Here's my point to that: as a lot of people in my age group, they're still not used to women broadcasting. I get a kick out of listening to Beth Mowens, and I get a kick out of listening to Krista Blunk do analysis on games, and I get a kick out of Pam Ward. I guess in the early days it was Gail Sierrance and all this. And not that they need to be mentioned out or called out. The bottom line is, it doesn't, I think for women and for just game broadcasts in general, you don't want to be the story. Obviously, it's a big moment for women empowerment, but you want to get to that point, and you hope to get to that point. Like when I turn on the Big Ten Network, or I turn on any other network, and Lisa Byington's doing a game, I don't notice she's doing the game. I'm there for the game. Isn't that the most important thing? And that's where you want to get to from a female standpoint, correct?
Oh, you're absolutely right. I look forward to maybe this not being some kind of a unique situation, right? Or a unique scenario that, will this become a regular thing? Probably not, but will there maybe be more than one here or there? Maybe a couple, along with a couple of guys. We'll see. But I think it brings attention just to the fact that I thought it was interesting, and I try to not tweet on Twitter as much. Or else
would you tweet?
I try not to respond. That's what I meant. I try not to respond on Twitter is what I try to do. Well, I thought it was an interesting comment. I don't like every voice that I listen to. I don't, male or female, right? So I thought it was interesting. I did see a tweet by someone who said that, there was a couple of female voices. They just did not like these female voices. And they also said that it took them a long time to get used to, I think it was Kenny Albert, I believe it was. But he said, it took me a long time to get used to his voice. And I thought, well, the difference there is that you've had a long time to get used to or not get used to, right? You haven't had as long of a time to get used to maybe some of those other names that he threw out there, the women of it. So, maybe they'll get used to it. Maybe they won't, and I'm not one to force anything on anybody. You watch or you don't. And sometimes I mute the TV too. So yeah, and that's when I'm on. So, but you know what? I just am thrilled for the opportunity, but also I just want a good game, and that's really what I want to see. So,
Let's hit a couple of college basketball things. Of course, you work for the Pac-12 network. We don't spend a lot of time on it, but how about 4 Pac-12 men's basketball teams in the tournament? I tell you, as somebody that covers the Pac-12 for the other network, I was surprised that 4 teams not only made the tournament, but also got there to the Sweet 16. UCLA, Oregon State, the big surprise, and then of course USC, who I thought was the best team. I thought USC and Oregon were the 2 best teams. I thought the only 2 teams to go. Boy, was I wrong, and I'm happy for that. But for just a quick comment on what the Pac-12 network, because you work for them, that must be a lot of pride for the Pac-12 conference to have that there. And then you're going to go to San Antonio in about a week or so to do the Final Four for the women's tournament. So why don't you hit on the Pac-12? And I think, is Stanford the only Pac-12 team in the women's tournament?
No, Arizona and Oregon on the women's side also. So three teams right now in the Sweet 16 round, and then we'll see. We'll go from there. But yeah, I am thrilled for the men's side. I think that Pac-12 men's basketball has just been such a roller coaster ride, and a little frustrating for people going, come on, why has it not been more competitive? Why has it not been more consistently better?
Right.
How can it not be, right? How can it not be?
I say the same thing.
Maybe it just takes a pandemic to shake things up a little bit, but it has been a crazy year. And I'll be honest, when I've been watching to see what they've been doing, and I called a Utah game earlier in the season, but I hadn't been following it quite as closely. But as I was watching games, there were a lot of schools that had some stoppage because of COVID, and you just thought, wow, are they going to be able to get this going or not? Is this going to happen? And then you kind of saw some teams start to beat each other. And that's when I say there's potential. And a lot of people say, is that a good thing? That's when I say, if they can get themselves there to the opportunity, it's great, because they have proven that they can beat these other teams. And so I'm really excited on the men's side. I'm very excited on the women's side. UCLA was right there, so close, but they just had an incredible Texas team that just could not miss, and so they got knocked out of the second round. But Arizona, great chance for them to move forward. Oregon, rebuilding year, right? The rebuilding year, making it to the Sweet 16. They've had some highs and lows as well, but I think they're as close to being as healthy as they've been all year, and that's been a big key. And then Stanford, they were picked a number 1 seed. They're playing some of their best ball, just a well-oiled machine right now. And so this inside, outside, depth, you name it. I mean, they've got it. So they're a team I could see going really far. So I'm excited for them. And but you know what? There's a lot of good teams out there. I mean, Connecticut's playing well. Baylor's playing really well. Gosh, I mean, there's just Texas A&M's a really good team. That's been beaten up and come close to losing some games, so they're hanging in there as well. So SEC was really strong this year, really strong. And NC State out of the ACC, those, and then you've always got South Carolina. Those teams, they're always going to be tough, but I love that some of these other teams have made it in.
I always joke about it. I used to joke with Shannon when we were working with the Lasers back in the 90s with the ABL. Type stuff, is like how to get women's sports more popular. And I just made an off-the-cuff comment because, I do the other show, it's geared toward wagering. I said, if you put the women's games on the betting board, you get a lot more viewership. And it's kind of tongue-in-cheek with the fact that does Utah have legal sports wagering now? I don't think they're there yet.
I can't even do a scratch-off, Vasu.
We definitely have to.
I saved some money during the pandemic, and I wasn't out gambling, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, how do you get more eyeballs on the viewership? I kind of say it tongue in cheek, but really, with 23 states legally wagering, sports wagering now, and California's going to come in. I'm on a committee in California to work on it on the ballot for 2022. But how do you get more viewers on these games? And I say wagering, but yeah, you know what? You probably would get more interest if it was on the board in Vegas or in Reno. Yep.
I think some of it kind of started just moving so many of the conference tournaments to Las Vegas. I'll tell you, one of my colleagues and friends, Debbie Antonelli, who works with ESPN, and she'll be on the Westwood One.
She did great over the weekend with the NCAA.
Yeah, on the men's side too. Yeah, with CBS. She has been making a push forever, and the NCAA just kind of ignores her and keeps moving on. But she would love to see maybe the Sweet 16 rounds on, or even I don't know but probably Sweet 16 on, move that to Vegas and let them all play kind of in one area. Yeah. The interesting thing about the pandemic this year is having to play in one area. You don't have that I got to fly all the way to Portland from wherever, or vice versa, right? You don't have that home court advantage necessarily. So for the first time in a long time, it's going to be interesting to see how many people do care, and we'll see how the ratings and everything go. And it's going to be interesting.
I think this year with the tournament itself, and Krista Blunk, our guest, she works for the Pac-12 network as well, too. Let me ask you this from this standpoint of the fact that everybody's all bubbled up, and it kind of happened in the NBA as well, too. The fact that everybody's bubbled up, it takes away kind of the mystique of these blue blood teams, because look at all the upsets that have happened on the men's side. And I'm not as familiar with the women's game as I used to be, but I have watched a little bit of it, and I'll definitely be watching and listening next weekend when your broadcasts are on. I expect a text next week for that, by the way.
All right.
The mystique of the blue bloods, especially on the men's side that I can speak to, but it's probably been the same on the women's side because they're all around each other, and there's not the fan bases and the craziness that goes on with the normal March Madness. Is that fair to say, or is that something so looking at maybe it's not going to be Connecticut? I mean, it could be Connecticut, but it may not be Connecticut because of all the factors that we just laid out.
Yeah, absolutely. The first day it was as marked on the grids. Day 2 of round 1, 3 or 4 upsets, like pretty big upsets, knockouts, like an 11 moving on. And I don't even have the bracket in front of me right now, but Missouri State, like some of these mid-majors from, smaller conferences. I mean, BYU upset a team and got in, and they were a really good team, and actually were really pushing Arizona the other day to the limit. So you had some of these 5 seeds, 6 seeds, and everybody just moving on, and so you still got the cream of the crop. You still got those top seeds, but there are definitely some other seeds that I wouldn't count them out. It's all, especially in a pandemic, who's been healthy, who's been able to play, who's fresh, who's rested, right? Maybe you had a few weeks where you couldn't play, but now you had enough games in, and here you are, and you're all rested and healthy and ready to go. So it is kind of a weird year in that way, and you can see some teams putting it together at the right time.
No doubt about it. Krista Blunk, our guest here, she's going to do the all-female broadcast for the Sacramento Kings on Saturday night, Women Empowerment Month. Let's talk about you and I for a second here before we go. Let's have a little laugh here.
Yeah.
My friends want to know what you remember most about me when I was young, dumb, and immature, which was probably yesterday. So let's get into that. By the way, our owner of the San Jose Lasers of the ABL. You think that's what I think? That was the time frame when women's basketball really got going, because the '96 Olympics, they won the gold medal. The league came in, and of course the NBA decides to stamp it out a little bit and have the WNBA go on, which you had a lot of years with the Monarchs in. But that was a fun 2.5 years doing the ABL in terms of the broadcasting. And, I was doing whatever. And Debbie Antonelli was the first broadcast I worked with.
Yeah.
That came from the national broadcast. So what do you remember about those days? What do you remember about me? These are for my co-hosts.
Well, you said it best earlier, but I think I remember how young we were, and none of us really knew any. I mean, it was kind of a, hey, do you know how to hook this equipment up? Because that's how you're going to get on the air kind of thing. And we were all just trying to get on the airwaves, right? And be able to get the word out about the team. I was really, really disappointed and sad when the team, when it ended, basically, when the league ended and the team folded. And I was working with the WNBA at the same exact time. They started that summer after. And you knew something kind of had to give at some point. But even though I felt like and believed that the WNBA was going to go further, there was just something about that first league, that league, not the first league, but
right,
one of the 2 major leagues after the Olympics that when it ended, it was definitely it was a sad time. It definitely.
I think it was a good time. I think it was a good time to start because it was on the heels and the momentum of the Olympics kind of took that off. And look at the WNBA now, still going strong, and obviously the NBA supports it well. And you had your time with the Monarchs, and you've done great work since then. I see all the comments on your post, all your ESPN friends, all your CBS Sports friends, all your Westwood One friends, and then there's me throwing in a comment in there once in a while.
Absolutely.
So you're doing the broadcast on Saturday night. Kayte Christensen, tell us who's doing the broadcast with you. I know Kayte Hunter is as well, too.
Kayte Hunter, Laura Britt will do kind of pre-post halftime. Leja Clarendon, former Cal Bear, plays in the WNBA. Incredible announcer. I've had the chance to sit by her or sit by Leja, and so that's going to be fun. And then Morgan Reagan's also involved on the social media side, and Sophia Jones, a potential future broadcaster.
Yeah, I saw that.
Daughter. Yeah, she's going to be a guest with the pregame show, and she's in college playing hoops at San Jose.
By the way, you know where she goes? I was going to ask you. Yeah, I saw that article and I said, I must have missed that because I saw the name there. By the way, for those that don't know, that's my alma mater. So I did, when I saw that, when I saw Mark Jones's daughter was going there, I'm surprised that the SID said this name to me last year, and I didn't realize it was Mark Jones' daughter. So that's good. By the way, he's doing a great job with the Kings. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's just I don't know if you've worked with him on ESPN at all.
You know, I did. He probably doesn't even remember, and I can barely remember. I'll tell you how long ago it was. I was a courtside reporter, and it was the NCAA tournament, and we didn't have a wireless mic yet for me. So I was cable connected trying to track down people, if that tells you anything. But yeah, so that was my fun-filled moment with Mark, working with Mark. But he just seems like he's just so down to earth, and he was always really gracious with his time and experience with me. So he's been.
I hope to get up to Golden One sometime. I hope we get through this pandemic. I can't wait to see you. I'm happy that you're able to be part of this broadcast. The Kings made the right decision to get you to do play-by-play. I'm sure it'll be a great broadcast, and I know how busy you are with scheduling and flying in and all this other stuff, but I always appreciate you taking the time for me. I do appreciate that very much.
Vasu, thank you. I appreciate you asking. I really do. You're incredible at what you do. I'm glad you're going to be back traveling like a crazy man again. I can't keep up with you. That's the thing. I never know. You're doing so many things. I can't keep up with you, but I'm very happy.
Always welcome to call. You're always welcome to call. Always take
my phone number. I got to keep my phone number the same, or nobody can find us, right? Yeah.
All right. Well, before this becomes a love fest, my guest Krista Blunk from the Pac-12 Network and also the Westwood One. She's going to do the Final Four next weekend in San Antonio or next week, I guess, with the days that are on. But Westwood One, Pac-12 Network. She's worked for ESPN. She's worked for the Sacramento Monarchs. She's going to be part of the all-female broadcast game for the Sacramento Kings game on Saturday night. Check it out if you can. It's going to be a great broadcast. Oh, one more thing before I forget. Let's talk. Mary Murphy and Kate Scott here. They're friends of yours from the Pac-12 Network. What about what can you say about them real quick before we go? I want to make sure. I know Kate Scott a little bit. I've never met Mary Murphy, but that's going to be an incredible opportunity for them. Unfortunately, they're not doing it on TV, but they're doing it on radio as well, too.
Yeah, I'm thrilled for them. Two of my all-time faves, for sure. Just salt of the earth. Wonderful. It'll be interesting to see because Mary from Chicago, Kate, total Bay Area Warriors, California girl, right? We'll see.
They have the Bulls on Monday night. That's right. Okay, yeah.
Right. So we'll see if they can. They may need plexiglass between them. I hope there is because they're two of the best, and just I'm so thrilled for them that they're getting teamed up and they're going to get to do this. And Kareth is going to be great too. She'll be roaming the sidelines and chiming in as well. So.
All right. Well, if you missed any of this live broadcast, you can download and pick it up anywhere you get your podcast. Stables Media YouTube page. Facebook, and all our social media platforms. Check out Stables Media for all the great shows that we have as well, too. I'm going to introduce you to my friend. She does a show called Pondering Mics about gay and lesbian dating. And I think you'd be a perfect guest on that. I think she's hilarious.
Okay.
Hilarious on that. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. And she's had me on as a guest already, so it's pretty funny. Her name is Stephanie Harris. But Stables Media doing great things. But I appreciate the time. Best wishes to you on the broadcast. I can't think of a better person to handle this broadcast. And I look forward to talking to you again real soon. Our guest, Krista Blunk. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. This is A Conversation With. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. We'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.